Hey everybody, it's Robert coming to you with another adventure into history, and today we are in West Point, Georgia in the Fort Tyler Cemetery. And we're here to visit not only the 76 people who were buried here, but in particular the grave of General Tyler, the last general killed during the Civil War on either side. He is actually buried in the same grave as his longtime friend, Captain Gonzalez. So previously I showed you Fort Tyler in West Point, Georgia, and now we're at the grave of its commander, Brigadier General Robert C. Tyler. It says Infantry, CSA, April 16th, 1865. General Tyler was in command of the defenses of West Point, Georgia, and during the Battle of West Point, after seeing that the battle could not be won with the Union forces advancing on his fort, he walked out into the lines of enemy fire and was quickly gunned down. He had reportedly sworn an oath to the people of West Point that he would either defend this land against the Union forces or die trying. And when it was going south for him, he opted for the latter. After his death, Captain Gonzalez took over command of Fort Tyler, and he too was quickly gunned down. And this is his grave right here, Captain C. Gonzalez, Company H, 1st Regiment, Florida Infantry, CSA, April 16th, 1865. Now, Captain Gonzalez is actually the grandson of a Spanish soldier who opted to stay in America after his discharge in 1792. So really interesting kind of history and dynamic with him, but also the fact that these two are buried in the same grave. But there are many, many more people buried here in the Fort Tyler Cemetery. There is apparently a mixture of Union soldiers and Confederate soldiers, and also a mixture of both known and unknown buried here. The soldiers that are buried here were either some who were killed in the Battle of West Point, but also some who died in hospitals near here prior to that, during the war. It says, in this plot are buried 64 unknown Confederate soldiers killed in battle or died in hospitals here, 1863 to 1865. So some of these stones are engraved, and I had read online that there's actually Union soldiers buried here as well. It's supposed to be 76. So maybe it's just 64 Confederates and the other are Union soldiers. It'd be interesting to see what we can find and identify here. This says Hall and Greed. That Hall and Creed, not Greed. Hall and Creed engraved on this stone here. This is Valentine de Lamar. This one says unknown CSA. Behind it, this is a newer stone. It says George R. Hall, Private, Company G, 41st Tennessee Infantry, Confederate States Army, April 16th, 1865. So he would have died in the Battle of West Point. Unknown CSA. Unknown CSA. These graves of the unknown always gives you pause, because you think about during the Civil War there was no mass communication like we have today, and your family went off, and you probably waited weeks to find out that they had been killed or weren't coming home. And I wonder how many people today search for relatives that are buried as an unknown soldier on either side. These are all unknowns here. It's unknown CSA. I think this one actually has a name. Nope, It's unknown CSA as well. I always get asked why I don't film the graves of Union soldiers, and simple answer is they're very rare to find down here in the South. Now, many times they would have been buried on the battlefield or nearby in unknown graves, or transported back home. So we don't see them very often unless we were to go specifically to a battlefield cemetery or a place such as Andersonville. This is GP Marchman, Company C, 1st Georgia Infantry, Fannon's Reserves, Confederate States Army, April 16th, 1865, so another death during the Battle of West Point. At Fort Tyler, an unknown CSA, unknown CSA, an unknown CSA. It's William Choice Thrower, Private Company D, 4th Georgia Infantry, Confederate States Army, April 16th, 1865. And we'll just kind of quickly look through these to see if there's any names on here. There's just initials on this one, IWT CSA. This is an unknown. All of these that I'm passing by are unknown CSA. This one has HGT CSA. The rest unknown. And back there I can already see unknown. That one's got initials on it. We'll circle back around there. First I wanted to take a look at these. This is J.O. Roberts, Georgia Infantry, Captain Matthews Company, East to West Point. I guess that's supposed to be point. It's just it looks like a C instead. Confederate States Army, and again, killed in the Battle of West Point. J. Ellis, Private Company E, 50th Georgia Infantry. Let's look down here at this tiny headstone, see if there's anything engraved on it. There used to be something engraved on it. I don't know if you'll be able to make it out on camera or not, but I cannot read it. TG. And again, back to the unknowns, but I think that this one that's HOL, so C or G, HOL, Massler. Company E, CSA. I can't make out the rest of that, unfortunately. Does it say 8th Arkansas Regiment? It's far from home, if I'm reading that right. T.C. Bailey, Company F, 42nd Georgia. So I guess these headstones predate the modern era Confederate marker, and they were just marking them as who they could identify. H.P. Robinson, Company K, 54th Georgia, CSA. A.H. Moore. And we're back to unknowns, but this one, J.H. McCormack, Company F, 27th M, CSA. A Battle of West Point casualty there. C. Goodman, 64th Georgia CSA. It's unknowns. I was hoping we would see some Union soldiers here who are reported to be here, but let's look back here at these smaller stones. Tet. Is it Tethabau? Company L, 9th Regiment, Memphis, Tennessee. So that's still a Confederate grave. I wonder why some of them are smaller. Nothing on a lot of these. Let's come back up here though. So we've got some of these which are, these must be very old markers here that predate even what we were just looking at, from the, judging from the type of rock, almost a fieldstone. Mill Smith, that's all it says. Some kind of stone here. Looks like T.C. Robertson. So that's like that kind of soapstone that we've seen before, and you can really tell from the, that's hand engraved on there like that. There's M.L. Smith. So there's a modern headstone there, April 16th, 1865. And I think that these modern headstones are not actually placed on the grave. Edgar Debut, Private Company H, 18th Louisiana Infantry, CSA, killed in the Battle of West Point there. It's interesting to see the different states here because, you know, so many of the times when we go to these family cemeteries, of course, we're seeing, you know, Georgia soldiers because they came back home and or were brought back home and are buried there. So interesting to see the people who died far away. So that's an unknown, and unknown. Robert C. Hamlin, Private, Captain Anderson Battery, Georgia Light Artillery, again, Battle of West Point casualty there. So I want to check my facts real quick. Maybe I was wrong about Union soldiers being buried here, but I thought that I had thought I'd read that online. Yeah, so the internet says that the dead of both sides that were killed in the Battle of West Point are buried here in this cemetery. So interesting that I don't see any kind of Union identifiers here, because even if, you know, they weren't marking them back then, you would think that in some point in time someone would have at least put some unknown U.S. memorials out here for any that are buried here. But very, very fascinating place. Again, we look around today and see this bustling city, people doing whatever they're doing, driving around, getting gas, living, all of that. Hard to believe that right over there, right across the river, there was a battle part of the end of the Civil War, right here. And all these people are buried here, and today you'd never think anything like that happened. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time on another adventure into history.